Hello and welcome back to Grumble and Growl. I'm Gail Tosh, your host, as we examine issues from the local to the global perspective so that you can make better choices. We have with us today a real trooper, someone who is looking out for your rights and your money. He is the property tax guy. He is Mike Franklin. He's not going to talk about property taxes per se, but other ways that government is finding to take our money from us in not nice ways. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. I think this is like your fourth time on the show. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's the third. Yeah.
Third? Okay, awesome. So we'll schedule a fourth
Yep.
to
Okay.
be continued. So, Mike, we were having a conversation about some of the inconsistencies in the Oswego County Sheriff's Department. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about what we were discussing?
Sure. Well, on the previous time I was on, we were talking about the Michelle Allen case up in New Haven
Hmm.
and how the Oswego County Sheriff's deputies didn't handle that situation properly, and so a lot of that was going on last fall, and I went to the Oswego County Legislature for a couple of meetings to explain to them, that their deputies aren't being trained properly, that they apparently don't know, people's rights, when they can demand, when they cannot demand ID, and they were, very quirky and unprofessional, and they were escalating a matter when they should have just de-escalated and told people to move on. So as a result, instead of just telling her to move on, we get the jailers involved, we get 5 deputies involved, we get the district attorney involved, we get the public defender involved, we get the court involved, and it just wasting so much taxpayer money on nothing. So I was trying to explain all that to them, and that their sheriff needs to be training their people properly, and that was last fall. And then there's the recent news where the sheriffs shot and killed a member of the public in Constantia in his own home, in his own garage.
Oh my
He had a
goodness.
3-year-old child in his arms,
Oh my goodness.
and I don't recall exactly when it first came in the news. They'd mentioned it was some sort of mental issue, but I suspect that was they slandered the guy, and I would like to have some verification on this, but I believe that they slandered the guy to cover for their inappropriate behavior. They're trigger happy deputies.
So I got your mom coming up. Take your son so you don't.
No, that's not happening. If you're gonna come here and tell me that, you guys can all
You have a stay away order protection with him, dude.
All right.
I don't want to get in a fight with you, especially with your son in your hands. All right.
It's not gonna happen.
Your mom's coming.
All right, come on. Let's go.
We're not coming. We're not coming.
All right.
Hey, dude, stop. You're gonna do this to yourself. Hey.
What the fuck?
Give me your hands.
Taking a 3-year-old child out of their father's arms and shooting him to death right in front of his 3-year-old in his own home.
Yeah,
And
there had to be another answer to that. I mean, even if it was a standoff or whatever, but sometimes I think just sending police out to these types of calls is not enough. I think that there's more that we can do.
Yeah, they're not trained. Apparently, they're not trained to handle these situations, even though these situations are all that uncommon. These family issues, when the husband and wife are not getting along for whatever reason, you just don't go in there, guns ablazing. You perhaps could have, people trained in, social work involved in these things, but they just come in very aggressive, and they kill the guy so unnecessarily, and so now you've got a 3-year-old without a father, and that's going to cost the taxpayers money. And that's
Yep.
what I was talking about last fall, is that, not only did they kill the guy, but they're exposing the taxpayers to liability. Somebody's going to be paying for this. And the lawyers are going to make out, the court's going to make out, but the taxpayers are going to lose. But what about the guy's family? and what they did to him. There's just serious things wrong with the Oswego County Sheriff's Department, and something needs to change. But as we saw in the Michelle Allen case, you've got a supervisor who's in the same party as the sheriff, who's in the same party as a district attorney, and it's like they're trading favors,
Yeah.
and it's just inappropriate, and nothing gets done to solve the problems.
Yeah, I know when I ran for office there in Oswego County, there were a lot of rumors coming to me about intimidation by the police, intimidating people who were not in their party, anyone who chose to speak up and speak out. And yeah, I think that's not consistent with how our police departments should be working.
Yeah, well, it's kind of consistent when one party, controls an area, that kind of thing, happens.
Mhm.
And
There's no checks and balances, right? There's nobody to put the brakes on because there's no other point of view, which is kind of what we're up against now on a national level too. So
it is, and it's not one party or the other; it's both parties. You're doing this. I'm not criticizing one party. I'm criticizing, the mentality of how they behave. And yes, I think that they are bullying the public, but there are certainly issues with their understanding of the First Amendment and Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. But I forget what amendment covers your life. They just went in and killed the guy.
yeah.
Right in front of his 3-year-old kid. It's just outrageous. I don't even know what to say. And but I would like more information on the matter. But they won't tell you anything because it's under investigation. So the public has no idea exactly what happened. We were lucky enough to see the body camera footage, and if everybody looks at the body camera footage, I don't know how you could not conclude that was not handled properly, and that it was a wrongful death. How can you conclude anything else?
Well, the more that you talk about this, the more I'm reminded of cases like the Alex Murdaugh case, where, he was a rich, influential lawyer and everyone was in his party and on his side. And he owned people and he was able to get away with so many things. Because I was just looking at this beautiful map behind your head and going, we could have one of these types of things happening right in our own backyard. With the way that the Oswego County Sheriff's Department is set up and has been operating for years.
That is one of the problems we're having in this country right now, is that you can get the same set of facts and the determination will change depending on whether it's a Republican or Democrat judge. That's part of the problem that we're having. So it's politics intervening with real life. With this guy's 3-year-old son growing up without a father for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. We want to have our judicial system to be free of political restraints, and we do our best to make laws in that behavior, in that manner, but we can't really fix what's going. People are people,
Well, what they need to realize is that they work for the public. The public does not work for the government. The government works for the public. And they need to understand that. And I don't think that the Oswego County Sheriff's Department understands that. Their deputies don't realize that they work for the public. They think they work for the sheriff.
Right.
They're paid for by tax dollars, and they need to come to that realization. They're just so aggressive and so porky and so unprofessional. It boggles my mind. I just don't understand.
So what do you think? What do you think the average person out there who's watching this could do to try and help make change happen in Oswego County or in their own county if they're going against the same type of influences?
I tell you, I really don't know the answer to that. I just hope that our politicians, that our police can act in good faith. I don't know what we can do about it. We need them to act in good faith. And I don't know how you get them to do that.
Well, that seems like a very powerless situation to be in, powerless and hopeless. And I agree with you. What can we do to fight back against, the sheriff's department? And you're right. Getting lawmakers into office who are going to make better decisions is one of the first steps.
Powerless and helpless, particularly if you're not rich.
Yeah.
If you're rich, then you can get justice. If you're not, then you can't, and you get treated like this guy got treated.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, what goes on, and it's unfortunate. I've been around a while, and I don't know what the solution to it is, but just need somebody
Well,
to advocate.
I can tell how strongly you feel about this topic. The passion is coming out in your voice, and it's not just about the way that they're taking our tax dollars for things that are kind of inappropriate. It's also about the family, and it's also about how this young child's going to grow up, and um, all of the things that taxpayers are going to have to pay for him. But still, he's going to grow up with this trauma that's going to take him, if he can heal, years, decades to heal from, which takes him away from being a contributing member to our society, unfortunately.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine what their families is going through.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention because, people, institutions like this can operate when there's no light shining on them. And the more light that we shine on them, the brighter it gets and the harder it is for them to stay in the shadows and do the things wrong that they're doing wrong. And I know in Oswego County, they're trying to change the demographics a little bit when it comes to politics, and I wish them all the luck. And that would certainly help this in the future. So, Mike, are you going to run for office?
I don't think I'm physically capable, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But I wish you could push the clock back about 20 years, But
You and me both.
Yeah, but if we could start, if the courts would allow the proceedings to be video recorded so the public can see what's going on, I think people's behavior will change if they, if they're held accountable.
Oh, sure. My son's does. If I turn on the video camera, he immediately stops misbehaving.
That's right.
Because there's nothing he can do about it when it's on camera.
Yeah, as soon as you turn on the camera, things change. And
Yep.
And so, but if it doesn't come to light, then they do whatever they darn well please, and then they brush it under the rug. They're going to find a way to brush this cancer case under the rug, and
They'll drag it out until people aren't thinking about it every day.
That's right.
They'll quietly make it
until
disappear.
the family gives up because they can't afford the attorneys to
Yep.
force justice. Yeah, they'll brush it under the rug. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
They'll use attorneys paid for with taxpayer dollars to brush this under the rug.
So I think one of the things that the people watching this, if you are experiencing something in your own area or you are aware of this one and you understand how troubling that this entire situation is, please call your lawmakers. I mean, I know we say it all the time, but this is how American government works. They have to hear from the people or they forget the people exist. So don't let them forget about you. Don't let them forget about how you feel, and don't let them forget about what you want. Please call your lawmakers and talk about this issue here in Oswego County or in your district if you're experiencing this there. Mike, is there anything else you want to tell the people today about this subject?
I mean, that's about it. I called Claudia Tenney's office today to tell them my displeasure with
Oh, yeah, you probably
transparency in our judiciary.
Probably got a good result with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm certain they're going to make changes right away. But I said my piece, and folks should say their piece so that they know.
Absolutely. Mike, look, Mike can't do it all by himself. So pick
That's
up
right.
the phone, give her a call, let her know how you feel, let her know you're paying her salary and you're voting for her or not for her, right? And that's got to be important. Mike, thank you so much for being on the show again today.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks. Bye for now.